Welcome to Adamant Lives, Episode 3, More Deadly Than the Sword, otherwise known as the one where they do Japan. British TV doing Japan in the 60s. Be careful, the racism here might strip the wallpaper. We open on some kissing and a guy taking photos. So far, so blackmaily, and Adam is brought in to talk to a government minister. Take note, the first time Adam works for the government. The first time in the modern age that his murders are officially sanctioned. This is a great scene. Adam spends the whole time telling the minister that the man in the photos should be horsewhipped, ruined, fired, or worse. Unfortunately, he's too valuable to the government, and Adam is ordered to hand the blackmailer what he wants, get the negatives, and then become the imperial assassin of state and kill the blackmailer. All's fair in love, war, international relations, and dealing with blackmailers. He's to go to Japan to make the exchange in a geisha house. This lets Adam be hilariously politically incorrect.
But that is a house of ill repute.
Geisha houses are highly respected institutions in Japan.
So is polygamy in Arabia, but I don't indulge.
So we end up by discovering the identity of the blackguard in the photos who's being blackmailed.
Actually, it's me.
Back in the car, we find out that Miss Jones broke in while Adam was away. This tells us terrible things about either Adam's idea of security or the British government's idea of security. They head to Adam's house, where Miss Jones reveals that she has a terrible memory for houses because she's convinced she's never seen it before, even though she sorta kinda did last episode. On the flight, we see Madame Union Jack glasses, and before anyone can scream that some of the passengers have vanished, Miss Jones takes the seat next to Adamant. You might wonder how she paid for a ticket to Tokyo, and I wonder that especially because in the previous scene she and Adamant both stated that she can't afford a ticket to Tokyo. In the geisha house, it's the battle of the bad accents as the British Caucasians are playing Americans, Australians, and Japanese people. Here's a taste.
Come on, doll, let's go outside. The light's better.
Good evening, sir. What is your pleasure?
What is your pleasure, sir?
So Adam goes to the Willow Room when he was ordered to meet the contact in the Pine Room. Why? I can only suspect that Adam is trolling the blackmailers. Outside, one of the geishas gets grabbed, and Adams turns up, only to reveal that it's actually...
Miss Jones.
Oh fuck. She grabbed the geisha, scalped her, and stole her clothes. I'm pretty sure that's a crime. And how the fuck did she know she was going into Adamant's room? She could have ended up with a fat, smelly, badly accented Belgian called Hector. Oh well, they don't feel like explaining how she made it to Japan, so I suppose I can't expect them to explain little things like Belgian avoidance. So Miss Jones, of course, wants to help out. Why? Because that's their formula and they're sticking to it. Adam meets up with an irritating Australian who, if this was made in the 80s, would have been played by Barry Humphries. Where does he meet this Australian? Well, where Adamant was supposed to meet the contact. So either having worked out that he's obviously the contact or just feeling like it, Adamant insults the entire Australian people.
McLennan, Brisbane.
Ralston, South Kensington.
South Kensington. They get lots of Australians around there, don't they? Earl's Court Road. What do they call it? Kangaroo Corner, is that right?
Yes, I believe the tone of the neighbourhood has dropped rather in recent years.
And the Australian could only be more obvious about wanting to do the exchange if he had a large sign saying, Mr. Adamant, I want to do the exchange.
Are you interested in photography?
Not in the least. You ready?
Oh, yeah, ready. Pity, it's a great hobby, photography. Yeah. Only if you were, I could show you some of the photos in my collection. Oh, that's ready. Yeah, they're very interesting.
Easy to see who's holding the idiot ball right now. Anyway, who wants to see the worst impersonation of a Japanese person ever done by an Englishwoman telling another Englishwoman to go and become Japanese?
If you wish to become geisha, first become Japanese, then many years training.
I just realised something. Her eyebrows. She's not even black-haired. Fucking hell, when you deliberately cast a white blonde as one of your main Japanese characters when you have an actual Asian actor in the same scene, you have fucked up. Still, British TV didn't stop doing minstrel-related TV until the 80s, and Doctor Who in the 70s was still using yellowface. At least with this, we can't see the hideous coloured makeup. So maybe I was wrong about the idiot ball thing, because Adamant has deliberately followed the Australian into a room with actual Japanese people. Well, you know what happens when Adamant sees someone played by someone of the correct ethnicity?
Look at that.
Thank you very much. McLennan. I'm sorry to intrude.
I'm wondering why the office has a massive picture of a cityscape over the window. Adamant, having followed the Australian back to his associates and having assaulted the bodyguard, then gives the Australian back his cigarette lighter because he's clearly just fucking with them. The associate panics so much that the camera is forced to shoot the back of his head. The bodyguard then gets into Adamant's hotel room and kidnaps Miss Jones. Apart from the issues of getting a conscious woman out of the hotel, into a car and back to their base or wherever while she's still kicking and not being seen, they're pissed off with Adamant. They think he's there to fuck with them. Why the fuck are they kidnapping her? I swear she's like a classic Doctor Who companion, kidnapped even when the reason for it is tiny and harder to find than a gnat's testicle. Although, maybe they thought she was Adamant. If that's the case, the episode gets 1,000,000 points for insanity. If that is the case, then their belief is rather short-lived, because Adam breaks into the penthouse lair of the villains, and according to the rather bad bit of photo standing in for a window, it's supposed to be the top of a very tall skyscraper. Why the fuck did no one see him go in there? This'll be easier if I assume he has the mutant power of being Adamant. So he finds their nefarious, automatically starting cinema room, and the guys are really huge kendo movie fans. Oh, how surreal. 2 screens showing guys running at the camera, and then 3 guys really attack. Of course, Adamant, being Adamant, he kills them all with one of their own swords. Tinfoil blade or no tinfoil blade. Back at the geisha house, Miss Jones is being held captive. Because they only had so many speaking parts, the madam of the house just has to be one of the villains. She wants to know why she and Adamant are in the country, and if she doesn't hear the correct answers, then she threatens to force her into a life of sex slavery.
You will be his toy like geisha girl in olden days.
Yes, it's still a kids' show. Anyway, these villains seem a bit zealous. They have no proof that her and Adamant are involved in anything. She just stole some costuming and Adamant gave a guy back his lighter. Threatening someone with sex slavery for such circumstantial evidence? Even for international blackmailers who employ people in yellowface? That's a bit dickish. Adamant finds a projector in his hotel room and hey, that's a British plug! And it looks nothing like a Japanese plug! Wow, they actually flew British plugs out to Japan to make it look like they actually filmed in the UK. That's dedication. The film is a very over-the-top way to tell Adamant to come to the villain's office the day after. Well, at least we get to see that Adamant dresses better when he's about to go to bed than most people do at parties. The next day, Adamant insults Japanese dentistry.
I wonder if you'd inform him from me that he has need of a dentist's ministrations.
And makes 1,000 dental-related stereotypes explode out of irony. We then discover what a gentleman wears underneath his waistcoat. The answer is, another waistcoat.
All right, Steve, let's face a few facts.
The deal is done and Adam gives them what they want. All the episode now is missing, apart from more action and killing, is the flashback back to the start of episode 1. You thought I was joking when I said you'd get bored of that. You should know better. I never joke about flashbacks to the start of Adamant episode 1. Adam wakes up surrounded by geishas and having photos taken by the madam for blackmailing.
How could you betray such a trust?
Well, she's got a vagina and she's not a main cast member. She's clearly evil.
When the photographic record of your delightful stay in Japan has been released all over the world, newspapers, television, magazines, everyone will know how the perfect gentleman, Adamant, spends his leisure hours.
I don't see how this works. British secret agent discovered having sex with many women in Japan? They'll just give the fucker a book deal in his own movie. That's probably how Owen Fleming got started. But enough about how this fucking thing doesn't work. There's more Australia bashing to do.
One of your ancestors was presumably a convict, McClellan. I shall see to it you keep up the family tradition.
Yeah, you do that.
And your degrading consort.
What does he call me?
They all leave Adamant tied up because they didn't see episode 1 where he managed to untie himself within about 30 seconds. He spots another geisha on the floor beside him and...
Beg your pardon, madam. It is rather exceptional. Miss Jones.
Oh fuck. Can't I get knocked out, captured and scandalized in a random building in Tokyo without finding you, useless trollop? So he frees himself as expected and discover that the Japanese henchmen are very fucking stupid indeed. Any minions that fell for that would have their genes removed from my gene pool. Painfully. And they were. After they did. Fuck, they were stupid. At least they stopped eating light bulbs. Unless I ordered them to. Where was I? Oh yes, having escaped, it's time for the finale. Adamant walks into the villain's office. Again, and manages to find the Australian in their dark room of infamy, which isn't really that dark. He destroys the negatives, but unfortunately gets himself locked in, and the Australian goes off to find his friends and their guns. So trapped. How could he get out of this? Come up with your own answer, and yes, you can suggest things that would not work in the real world. Time's up. Here's the correct answer. Take a photo of yourself, develop it, blow it up to life size, cut it out, and stand it up somehow so the bad guys waste their bullets shooting at it. My favourite suggestions for the audience were Morgan Funders, who said he used his radiation vision and melted their guns, and Aaron Kelly, who suggested that he get naked. Not as a method of escape, but because he thinks he's hot. So do I need to go into the insanity of that? How a man with no camera, no experience in film development, with less than 2 minutes creates a life-size photo double. Luckily, I know nothing about photography, and this is so fucking obvious that I don't need to. Therefore, this review won't be extended by several minutes. Okay, final fight. The Aussie manages to shoot his associate through the door. The bodyguard is annoyed that he has no body to guard and so beats the Australian to death. Adamant then fights the bodyguard, which results in him getting thrown through a sheet of paper, which sounds like glass breaking. And finally, we end on the most epic piece of snark so far from Adamant.
My dear Miss Jones, I thought you were at the British Embassy.
I went there, but it was after hours, and they said come back on Monday.
No wonder we lost the Empire.
This episode has its issues, and they're obvious. Very fucking obvious. It's racist. Even beyond the yellowface. There are no good Japanese characters in this. And the whole thing with the photograph is just, what the fuck? Did people in the 60s really think that was possible, or was that a wee bit of a, we know this really can't happen in real life, but we're along with the ride, like the computers on CSI? I really wish I knew. Like the rest, this one could lose a lot of stuff. Hell, Miss Jones could not have appeared at all, and the story would probably have made more sense. This isn't the show at its best, but it does have that golden last exchange, and that counts for something.